Hey guys, my name is Nikki and I work here at Lifestyle, and I just wanted to share my testimony with you guys. So I was born in Iran, and at a young age, when I was 7, my family moved here to the US, and I was raised with Muslim parents. And so when I was 7 years old, me and my sister, when we came out here, we started to kind of rebel and go in a rebellious streak. I remember being 7 years old and smoking my first cigarette, and it was not good. And we basically ended up moving around a lot throughout the country. We moved to New York, and at that time I was introduced to a lot of New Age, had the Muslim background in the back, New Age, and I was really into astrology and horoscopes and Ouija boards and anything like that, and I was dabbling in it. And it was around that time when I was in New York, when I was in 8th grade, that my sister had invited some friends over to drink, and that day was probably the hardest moment I've had in my life so far. And that day we got drunk, and one of my sister's friends molested me, and it was just a lot of shame brought into my life. And ever since then I started drinking as often as I could, and I was drinking every weekend. I was bringing alcohol into school. I was not a good influence at all, and I didn't know my way around the world. And in college, it kind of progressed up until college, where I had been smoking, drinking, and for years. And I had met someone, and he was actually an old friend, and he was my friend at the time. He had asked me out, and while I was in college, I said yes, even though I had just been in 2 really long relationships. I was very codependent. I was using relationships to fill the gap inside, and I really didn't want to, but we had fallen in love, so I just kind of said yes, and I didn't know what that would become. But at that point, I was suicidal. I had read every book I could on New Age. I went to conferences. I went and just try to find my happiness and fulfillment through that, and nothing was answering me. And I was living in such a bad, with such a bad anxiety, with such a bad depression. I was cutting, suicidal. And when I went on the trip to Iran that my mom sent me on to help me get better, it was there that I had a vision of Jesus. And it was out of nowhere, and when I closed my eyes, I saw a man, and he had long brown hair and a beautiful blue robe, and he was standing inside of a church. It was an old wood-style, humble-looking church, and there was a stained glass window behind him, and he said, "Follow me." I looked up Jesus on Google, and I saw that the pictures matched up to what I had just seen. I asked that guy that I was dating, who's now my husband, and I asked him, "Do you know who Jesus is?" And he said, "Yeah, I do know, and I can introduce you to church." And he was actually backslidden. He was raised in the church, but he actually didn't believe at this point. He was into drugs and all that as well at the time. And so he brought me to church, and I was weeping all the time. Every week I responded to every altar call, and I wanted Jesus in my life. The Lord led us both to get baptized, and I started flowing in the gifts of the Holy Spirit, not because anyone taught me, but I was seeing it in the Bible, and God started using supernatural ways to speak to me, like in dreams or just speaking words. And so I started kind of learning more about that. And my boyfriend, now my husband, he wasn't very into that. We had a season where I actually had to lay him on the altar, and the Lord said to let him go. And I prayed for him, though, that he would find the truth. And one day he got on his knees and he asked the Lord, "Lord, I don't think she's right, but I need you to show me the truth. What is the way that I should follow you?" And the Lord confirmed him. He spoke to him, and he said that what I've been telling him this whole time is the truth, and he ended up driving to my church that I was going to. He didn't even know how he got there, but he showed up with a coffee in his hand, and ever since then he just surrendered his life afresh to God. He's been clean of drugs and everything, and now we are married. We have a wonderful daughter, and even though sometimes it was hard for my parents, my Muslim family, to accept my faith, because they did get very upset with me in the beginning. After I got baptized, I had to run away from home. There was a time when my dad got so upset with me that kind of held me hostage. He beat me to the ground, and he told me to renounce Jesus and to stop doing what I'm doing, that I'm basically worthless, I'm bringing shame to the family. And it was at that point I ran away. So my husband had a great deal in helping me to recover through that. And Jesus, he gets all the credit that I have no unforgiveness against my parents, family, even though I've been kind of disowned by a lot of them. But I thank Jesus for giving me strength to overcome suicide, overcome anxiety, overcome depression, and know that he is, in his Holy Spirit, he is so powerful to help you overcome anything in your life. So yeah, that's my story.